Hello guys, welcome to the latest video. This is going to be a very quick kit review of the gorgeous new Rogal Dorn Astra Militarum tank with a droopy cannon. It's just been tackied on at the moment, so it does pivot, as you can see, but there's also a little bit more movement in there at the moment. Yeah, Games Workshop very kindly sent me this one to review for you all, so I thought I'd have a quick look through. Built it up. I'm starting to get a little bit of a large Astra Militarum contingent, nice army going, and this I was really keen to get this added into the army actually. So when they sent me one, that was perfect. The army that I'm doing, you've probably been seeing little bits and bobs of it on social media, and been painting it up like that's such a cool view. I've been painting it up like the 122nd. Cadian Force, the City Fight one. So this tank will be painted up to match all of that kind of scheme that I've got going on. But in terms of building, the build starts with as usual with all the Games Workshop stuff, all the Games Workshop tanks at least. It starts with the tracks. So you build up all the tracks. You then build the chassis on the inside. I still can't quite decide how I feel about this, but this is one of the slightly contentious parts of the model. I don't know why they've done that. I don't know why they've just missed a bit off. If I was to try to guess, the tank itself comes on three very compact and packed in sprues. So the only thing I can think of is that something had to go to be able to fit it onto 3 sprues, and I think the underside of the hull, which is slightly disappointing. But then you never see it. Like, you're never ever going to see the underside of the tank. So is it that much of a problem? I don't really know. It's probably going to be more of an issue if you have an idea for converting the tank up, maybe doing a ruin or some sort of diorama, and then you'll have to. I mean, it's going to be pretty straightforward. Looking at it, it's going to be pretty straightforward to match up. You're going to need 2 bits of plastic card to run down here, a little bit down the centre, and then it's just going to be the case of making the ribs. If you really want to fill that in, I'm not going to. I was wondering about having access to the inside, but there isn't really anything in there that helps. It does help a little bit when you're kind of gluing in some of the panels, so you can get your brush in. Down here, I use MechPack, Slater's MechPack, which is a very old glue which I've been using for years, and you can get a brush with it, so you can get in through that access panel. But I don't think it was intentionally meant to be anything like that. I think personally it was just because they were trying to fit it onto 3 sprues, and unfortunately that was the bit that got cut to fit it onto the sprues. There is a lot on the sprues. We'll go and have a look at the sprues now, actually. So all the extra bits, I'll just move this out of the way for a second. You do get a lot of extra cool stuff, including these little track guards as well. It's got some track guards that sit down the side of the wheels, stop people coming along and sticking sticky bombs to them or anything. I've left those off. The one that I did try, I'm not a big fan of. Sorry, excuse me. I'm not really a big fan of these of how they kind of lean out. I'm sure there's a military reason for why they hang a little bit further down, but the one that I've mock fitted on, I have trimmed those off. But that's beside the point. It's probably not going to go on. It does, yes. So the kit itself comes with plenty of different heads. I do like these little caps, the little cap heads. I'm going to do. Oh, so it's a subject for another video, but I'm going to do lots and lots of different infantry squads, and one of the infantry squads is going to have these almost Maulian Iron Guard cap heads on them. So it's nice to have all the different options for this crew. You've got move me forward so I can stab him with my sword. You've got a few extra ones. You got a guy on a walkie-talkie, which is quite nice. And then in terms of all the other little bits, I love. See, they could have missed off and not put on all these extra bits. Like, you could have not had all the packaging and the ammo boxes and the sandbags and things like that, and then fitted on the underside of the hull. But personally, what would I rather have? Would I rather have the underside of the hull as a part here, or all these little extra bits? I love these little extra bits. They're really cool. Kind of, these are the sort of parts that you end up collecting as you go through an army, and they're really cool to tell stories when you're doing generals and character models, and you want a little bit more interest on the model and things like that. This is a really nice little towing rope, much neater than the one that you get in the old Astra Militarum vehicle accessory sprue, so that's quite nice. And the fact that it figure of eights round as well, so it's not going to be nice and compact when you put it on the tank. It's got the track guards here as well. A few extra petrol tanks. Nice little. So what's that? We've got a spade, an axe, a bedroll, and an adjustable spanner. We've got a pipe wrench there as well. Lots of really cool stuff. And then obviously we've got the sponson weapons, which we'll talk about in a second, and the front hull weapons as well, which we'll also talk about in a second. And then it's got all sorts of little things like army tow hooks and things like that. Where's the other sprue? And here's the last sprue. So the last sprue has some weapons to go on the turret. So you've got a pintle mounted heavy stubber. It's not quite a pintle mounted multi-melter, but it's not bad. I think there's two of those. No, there's only one. So there's only one heavy stubber that you can mount up on the pintle, and then you've got some petrol cans. I love little spent bullets, so that's really cool. So they sit on the. They can go on the back here, because that's you have a pintle mounted heavy bolter, heavy stubber, sorry, there with a guy who can stand on it and fire it. So that's quite nice. You've got a few more bits of infantry, and then the searchlights as well. So really nice extra bits on the sprue. Like I say, I always like these extra little bits that you can scatter around. So these ones will be very good if you put the track guards on. I think I'll leave my track guards off. At the moment, it's got a very much a Indiana Jones World War One German tank look, and I quite like the exposed tanks on here, exposed tracks. In terms of scale as well, so my Lehman Russ, I will be doing a video on these as well. My Lehman Russ is here. So that's the scale. The scale of it. It is quite big. Obviously, this isn't the same height as a Lehman Russ. It's about 10 millimeters shorter. It's a Chimera chassis with a Lehman Russ hull. So it's a little bit shorter. So it would probably be an actual Lehman Russ. It would probably come up to just about there. So Chimera, then Lehman Russ, and then the Rogal Dorn in terms of scale. And then there's the awesome view from the front. It is really cool. I'm actually wondering whether I can put a bulldozer blade on the front of it. I do have an extra tank sprue accessory which come with a bulldozer blade, so I might mock up a bulldozer blade. So make sure you follow me on Instagram and Twitter to see that later on. But there will be another video coming soon about how I converted those. I do like those. Right, now the weapons. We have lots of interchangeable weapons here, and there's a lot of them which are actually interchangeable. With the sponsons are mostly quite tight, so they're quite a nice snug fit. I wouldn't want to trust the sponsons, so I would probably just drill and drop a magnet in both sides of those. This one, for instance, the multi-melter one, I've got a little bit of tacky putty in there just to hold it for the video. However, the ones in the hull are very snug. So these ones, I think you could just paint those separately. You don't need to magnetize those at all. Those are very snug. They're not going to go anywhere. not falling out at all. And it's the same with the hull mounted heavy weapon as well. I'll just remove that out of the way. So this is the pulverizer cannon, which is probably the one that you want to go with in terms of what you outfit the Rogal Dorn with. It can also have a Gatling. So I suppose it's either the Gatling or the oppressor and the heavy stubber or the multi-melters in the hull. I think the heavy stubber multi-melters are going to be a little bit more points orientated, like how many points you have spare in the army. If you're 2010 points, you'll probably drop the multi-melter and drop the heavy stubbers in. If you're 1990, then you'll probably just drop the multi-melters in, because it's quite nice. It is a toughness 9 body, so it's quite a durable tank. So having as many weapons on here as you can, which is why I've got the sponsons on, is probably going to be a good thing. In terms of the turret weapon, there are 2 options on the turret weapon. There is the oppressor cannon, which is, it's got the look of the Vanquisher cannon from the Lehman Russ, which is really, really nice. So it looks rather cool. I keep having my little finger out. I don't know what. It's like holding it in a very English way with your little finger out. So you have, you have the oppressor cannon, and then you've got the twin battle cannon here as well. In terms of which one I would pick, I'm going to go with the oppressor cannon at the moment. So this one's 2d6 shots, this one's d6 plus 3 shots. So although this one's got a higher potential, this one's probably, the oppressor is probably a little bit more reliable. And also it's damage 4 as well, which is great. You want a nice little bit of damage, particularly in what could become the new meta of just vehicles and tanks everywhere. As we go into the end of 9th edition. And then we have the Gatling or the pulverizer cannon here as well. And I think this would depend. It's like a little bit of a bonus weapon. I think that's going to depend on what sort of meta you're running into. If you're running into a lot of hordes, then I'd probably just throw the Gatling on, because I think it's cheaper in the points as well. But if the vehicles do end up running a bit of a riot and a muck in the meta, then drop the pulverizer on, because I think, I've got a funny feeling that's damage 4 as well. It's at least damage 3 anyway, so it's going to be punching through some armour. Just throw the top turret weapon back on. So in terms of magnetizing, so I would probably drop some magnets in on the sponsons. I think that's going to be a good thing to do to keep those around. The only options you've got on the sponsons are the heavy bolter and the multi-melter. Either, to be honest, I don't think there's a bad choice particularly on those. In terms of magnetizing this, is going to be quite tricky, because as you can see, we have the 3 slots here, and the oppressor cannon has the slot in the center to registrate it. And the twin battle cannons have 2 slots either side. So if I was to magnetize this, I would drill around on this side. There we go. I would drill a hole here. I'd drill a hole here. I'd mark those out on here and put two magnets here. This is quite thick, as you can see. It's a good 6 mil, 7 mil thick. So there's plenty of space there and there for a magnet, and then you can magnetize here, and then also just here and here. So if you just push that out of the way a little bit, you'll see we've got plenty of space there for a magnet. Drop a magnet in there, drop a magnet in there, and I think they will clip on quite nicely. I don't know whether I'm going to do that yet. Also, aesthetically, I think the oppressor cannon just looks better as well. I mean, it just looks mega impressive. Yeah, that's going to look really cool. Now, there's a few things that I've got left to do on the tank. All my tanks, and I know this one has had some laughs on the internet, because I've got a rotating Gatling cannon that's covered in mesh and gauze, but I am going to put some of that on the Rogal Dorn as well. I'm going to have to got some more sandbags to throw around, so we'll get some sandbags on the front as well. But we're going to put some mesh over the turret to disguise that from radar or whatever they have in the 41st millennium. We'll throw some sandbags around. I do like having at least one guy just poking his head out. I'm not a big fan of having the guy standing up, like waving his sword around, but I don't mind the guy just poking his head out, exactly the same as I've got with my Layman Russ. He's just poking out. He's sighting up directions where we want to go, what we want to be shooting at. So I do like having one driver just kind of poking his head. Although there are lots and lots, as you can see, windows all the way around it as well. The tank tracks, like I said earlier, I think I'm going to leave those off. I did put the sponsons on, like I said, so that we can get as many weapons as we can on this toughness 9 tank. I think it's got something like 22 wounds as well. It's incredibly tough. So it's going to be hanging around for a while. We should be alright with this one. It hasn't got any indirect on it, but it has got some blast weapons. The turret weapon now in Astra Militarum, it can shoot. So the turret weapon can shoot when it's in combat. So you can't just tag something, sit here with a little termagant touching your tank. The turret weapon will still fire, which is great. In terms of points in the game, this is 250 points, with the weapons are all like 5-10 points here and there. I've got a feeling the pulverizer cannon is 15 points, but I'm not entirely sure. And yeah, so it's 250 points. A Layman Rust battle tank starts at 150, and is it nearly twice as good a tank? Probably. It's got a lot of guns on it, and it's got a lot of big guns on it as well. So you could end up with, if you wanted, you could end up with 4 multi-melters on it, which is insane. And then you have the oppressor cannon, or you've got the twin battle cannons as well. You've also got the pulverizer in here as well, which is knocking out some damage. So you could, if you put multi-melters all over it, you could be rocking a lot of damage 4 shots, a lot of damage 3 shots, and then a lot of damage D6, and then possibly even D6 plus 2 when you're getting up close. So I think it's going to be a good solid pick. It's definitely not going to be something that you're going to be sorry that you got in your army. The rules for it are going to be very, very good fun. I would always try and get a tank commander, or Leonidas, or Leonidas. I can't remember how you pronounce him. It's not like Leonidas. Leonidas is the guy from Gladiator, but you know what I mean. You need the tank orders for this, so it's going to be good fun. I'm going to enjoy getting it painted up. We're going to, because it's a slightly older looking tank in terms of style, I'm going to try and batter it up a little bit more than the slightly newer looking Layman Rust style that I've got going on. So this one should be really, really good fun. We're going to batter it up, we're going to chip it, we're going to put lots of rust all over it, and I am going to, that's definitely something I'm going to do when we finish the video. So yeah, drop onto my Instagram at Chris Frossin to find out what it looks like with the bulldozer blade. It's an interesting one actually. I'm not quite sure why tanks have bulldozer. Do tanks have? If you know, then let me know in the comments. Do tanks have bulldozer blades to clear away spaces? Because obviously they don't need them to clear paths for themselves. So I'm guessing they're clearing a path for the convoy behind them. Yeah. Anyway, really, really cool tank. Thank you very much to Games Workshop for sending it to me, and hopefully you enjoyed the review. And I will see you in the next video, which might be painting this one up. We shall see. But yeah, thank you very much, guys. I'm going to be live over the weekend on Twitch, so twitch.tv/Chris Frossin. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Twitter at Chris Frossin on both. And we'll have lots more cool things coming up for you, I am sure. Oh, yeah, make sure you drill your barrels. Always drill your barrels. I haven't got round to it yet. I will do. Thank you so very much, guys. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you next time.